Good evening, all. Welcome to yet another interesting session by Vitasta Publishing. I am Radhika Tiwari, and today we have Principal District and Session Judge, South Saket, New Delhi, Miss Poonam A Bamba, who's also the author of 3 books. One of them being this one, Parents at War: Custody Battles in Indian Courts. And this is this book is the topic that we are going to discuss during this session. Ma'am, hope you're doing well. Hello, ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, great.
Yes. So can we
Perfectly
begin this session? Can we begin this session with one of the poems that mentioned in the beginning of the book?
Yes, sure. That is very close to my heart. Yes.
Please go ahead, ma'am.
You want me to read it?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. It is titled, I Am the Child. All the world waits for my coming. All the earth watches with interest to see what I shall become. Civilization hangs in the balance for what I am. The world of tomorrow will be. I am the child. I have come into your world about which I know nothing. How I came, I know not. I am curious, I am interested. I am the child. You hold in your hand my destiny. You determine life. Those things that make for happiness, train me, I beg you, that I may be a blessing to the world.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful one. So let's start with this session with some question and answer. You have written in your book that often the custodial litigations are spurious, a burden on the judicial system, as they have nothing to do with the custody litigation of the child, and they are usually just a facade to pursue a hidden agenda. Can you explain this point?
Yes. When you probe a little, you find out that it is more about something, when a hidden agenda is revealed. Sometimes what happens when the wife or the husband has filed for divorce petition, so just to avenge that step taken by the spouse, the other spouse would file for custody litigation to pressurize. It will be a kind of a bargaining point. Another is when a wife would file a complaint under 498A. We all know it has become very popular provision. Everyone knows. As a counterblast would come a petition for custody, where I'm not saying that every such petition is not actually intending to have the custody of the child, but many a times we observe that underlying idea is not to seek custody, but to pressurize wife. You can understand any custodial parent, when faced with a litigation, immediately would have a fear or apprehension that child may not be snatched from her or him. So this is also a counterblast to mellow down the spouse, the wife in this case. Sometimes we find that mother of the child passes away, and paternal grandparents take the child's custody. So husband would feel that child may not stake claim in the paternal side property. So they will file for custody of the child, although they may not be interested at all, just to bargain that she gives up the child's claim. They enter into some settlement because the parents of that mother of the child would not like to part with the child's custody. So they will enter into agreement, but they know little less that even if somebody gives away child's rights, child on attaining majority can always seek. But this is sometimes the hidden agenda. One could be what I came across. In one of the cases, the husband was charged with murder of the wife. So the husband filed for custody of children, pressurizing maternal grandparents to mellow down the criminal complaint allegations, or to enter into, it is also a kind of arm twisting to enter into some kind of settlement or become hostile and not to depose against. So these are very, very painful when you realize the real intention is not even to have the custody, but it
Okay.
has a great impact on the child's psyche. So these are the kinds of claim where, hidden agenda is something else when you scratch a little.
Okay. So, how do you, as a judge, deal with a case where you can clearly see that the well being of a child involved is being ignored?
No, all well-being, because being the paramount, welfare of the child is the paramount consideration. In
Right.
every such case, in every case for custody, our total focus is on child's welfare. Where would the child be most secured? Where is the conducive atmosphere? Whether it could be mother, it could be father. So this is done through various tools. We counsel parents, we interact with children, we have counselors with family courts who also talk to parents and the child. So these are various methods through which we assess where the welfare of the child lies. And we sometimes try to persuade also. We are
Okay.
able to persuade sometimes, most of the times not. So we have to pass orders.
And okay, we can switch to a different question. Does the court ever go an extra mile to ensure that the mental and emotional safety of a child, once the case has been settled, is fine? Does the court ever
No,
go an
what do you mean by settlement? Settled as in
once the case is over, like the
case is
guardianship
over.
has been decided? Yes.
Yes. See, we right now have no means of follow-up
Okay.
on the custody. Suppose a case is decided or settled. Sometimes even people settle and decide on the custody of the child. Once they leave the court and case is over, right now we do not have that paraphernalia to, follow up how is the child doing wherever it went. But
Okay.
one beautiful thing about custody orders is they are always interim. They can always be changed. It is not the case that once child is given to the mother or the
Okay.
father, or they agreed that it would remain with one of the spouses.
Fine.
Nobody can, raise this issue that once it is decided, it cannot be challenged. It is not so. It is always dynamic. Suppose tomorrow husband loses job and
Right.
has no finances to maintain, so wife can always come to the court, and even husband can come to the court that I am not able to maintain. So these custody orders are then modified once the party approaches the court.
Okay. Fine. And in a layman's language, what goes into this whole process of custodial litigation, what are all the factors that play a crucial role in deciding the guardianship of a child? Is there any set rules that these should be the factors or these should be the conditions, and this particular parent can have the child?
Yes, there are factors prescribed under the law, which says you have to see the age of the child, sex of the child, sex
Okay.
as in female or male, and we have to even take into account the choice of the child. Sometimes child would express that he or she does not want to be with one of the parents. Even the capacity of the guardian has to be seen, whether he is in a position to provide for not only physical safety but also emotional support. Suppose a father is living alone and wants custody. He's very well doing. Wife is little less paid in her job, but we see that he is away. He's in a kind of job where he remains away from home
Okay.
from morning till late at night, and he's providing best of the caretaker. But at the mother's end, if we find, although she has less of finances, but she has an extended family, she is also working. There was a case whenever the mother was teacher in the school and father was working in MNC and traveling most of the times. but he was very vehement. But then we have to balance like this. It is not only the financial capacity, it is the capacity of the spouse to provide security, which is even social, emotional, best of the education. Husband claimed that he has best of money, so can put the child in best of the schools, provide extracurricular activities. But that ultimately, where would the welfare of the child lie? We will just simply go by that. The finance is not the only criteria. If and secondly, if the child is younger, in his formative years, then even law provides that till the age of 5 years, mother's lap is they say it is the God's creation. Mother is God's creation, and mother's lap is the best place for a child up to 5 years to be. So even age, this is how the age becomes very, very relevant. Initially, we know that child is more bonded with the mother for various reasons. And also, suppose the child is a grown up girl and reaching the age of puberty or has already reached puberty. So she would be more comfortable with the mother in
Right.
sharing things. So there was a case with me where, father alleged that mother is living in adultery. Somebody visits her, but the custody of the 14-year girl was allowed to be with mother. She was counseled that even if somebody is visiting, she has to see that it is not affecting the child in any manner, whether emotionally or otherwise. Child is safe, but her custody was, this was not taken into account, that somebody is visiting or she is living with someone, because this girl was, just entered puberty. So these are the various things which are, some are written in the law, uh, in the statute. Others are, we all are human beings, so we all sense where the child is more comfortable. So these are the kind of factors provided, and also evolved over a period of time through judgments.
Okay. And since how many years you were saying that you have worked with the family coach? How many years to
uh,
be precise?
yes, I had 3 stints, so
Fine.
almost around 7 years. I had put in 7 years in totality over
Oh,
three. First of all, we didn't have family courts. So there were matrimonial court. I presided over matrimonial court for 3 years, and thereafter I was a family court judge. Then I was a principal judge family court. So putting all together, it was around 7 years put in
okay.
into
7 years.
this kind of litigation.
That's very long, right?
That is
And
quite a long period.
yes. And as a judge, what points would you suggest the couples to consider before they decide to fight custody of a child? What are all the points that they should, first of all take care of?
I wish they listen to us. So this book is actually an effort to reach out to such parents who claim that it is the child's interest they have at heart, but unknowingly, in their zeal to win custody, they allege many things against each other and also degrade the other spouse by stating that child is not performing well, child has got bad handwriting, child is not good in extracurricular. So effort has been, I have suggested also 2 3 things, that we already have pre-litigative counseling.
Right.
So my suggestion to parents had always been, those who are able to access, there is beautiful setup through our Delhi Legal Services Authority, as well
Okay.
as there is one complete cell which deals with pre-litigative dispute resolution. So my message to such couples who are struggling, first of all, to sit together. Even if you are not able to talk to each, when they approach court, it means they are not on talking terms. Otherwise, things would have been worked out outside the court. So if you are not able to do it, I would say there is nothing wrong in even, approaching your friends. Families, of course, both the families are involved, but they are so involved and attached to their own viewpoints that nothing works out. So they can even see a therapist or a counselor who can, put things objectively. When we are in a situation, we are so attached to our own, story, that we are not able to see the other person's. We don't hear, actually. We don't hear. We just stick to our claim. It is more of a claim. So one is that please sit together. And then secondly, there is no harm in visiting a counselor. We have a pre-litigative dispute resolution. Then even once it is filed in the court, as per the act and even otherwise as a practice, our first effort is to make the parents sit together, and we counsel them as well. We also have counselors attached to the family courts who also counsel them. And
Okay.
sometimes once the process begins, they are even sent for mediation. So we have trained mediators, judge mediators, as well as advocate mediators. So they are even sent. So this is how I think we can lessen a trauma a bit, what we put children to.
Okay, and just so our audience knows, could you please explain what is this whole process that goes into pre-litigative sessions? How can one approach
Uh,
them?
Pre-litigative, there is a dispute resolution system established by the government, Delhi government.
Okay.
One can see on the website. As far as courts are concerned, once they file the litigation, we also do not ask for replies because that brings, counter allegations on record. So we don't do it. Judges call them in a separate session, as well as we take joint sessions with both of them. And we also have interaction with children. As I said earlier, that when the child is of an age who can make an intelligent choice, and we can assess that yes, child is in a position to tell his own choice, then we even interact with such children, not once, many a time as per their convenience. And sometimes we suggest that parties may choose the counselor of their own choice. At times they prefer to have an independent counselor. They are allowed to even approach such counselor or a marriage therapist of their own choice, where they can agree, both of them can agree. You can understand when parties are warring, they somehow do not trust any name suggested by the other person. So we allow them to sit. And most important is we take help of lawyers from both the sides, because both the sides, husband and wife, trust their own lawyers. So lawyers play a very, very constructive role. So my one of the suggestions is also this, that we should give more and more training, which have started through our Delhi Legal Services Authority, to sensitize lawyers, that instead of taking sides in the beginning, they can sit together. Parties may not be able to talk to each other, but lawyers can very well talk to each other. So this is another tool which can be very, very effective for avoiding such litigation.
Yes, and in your book, you have, after sharing the stories, you have also mentioned the legal process and what the law says. And just now you said that
Mhm.
lawyers need to be sensitized a little. A little bit of training would definitely help. So, how do you think
Uh,
can this system be improved to ensure that it takes a lesser toll on both parents and children? More importantly, on children,
uh, I think it is, like I say, for every law, it is the
right?
consumer of the law who have to, understand uh, how to use it. It is only a last resort. So we do have, as I said, workshops for lawyers,
Okay.
which will go a long way. And while just now talking to you, it just occurred to me, when the parents come and go for mediation, sometimes we also show them small documentaries
Okay.
of children having undergone such trauma. So this is how we can sensitize parents as well, how this litigation is best avoidable.
Okay. And since you just mentioned the documentary thing, and it's isn't it also important that to counsel the child before this whole process begins. So do you see it
The child?
happening? Yes, the child, not necessarily from the coach side, but from the child's parents, obviously, that the child should be counseled, right? Do you see it happening? Do you see it happening frequently, or do you think that parents often forget to prepare their children for such a big or huge task?
Uh, when parents fight, I think they lose sense of proportion. They do not. There must be few parents. I'm not saying that everybody falls in the same category,
Right.
but generally people feel so victimized. They only think about their own rights. Unknowingly, they simply forget that it is the welfare of the child which the court is going to look at. If you have gone through the book I've shared, when we pick up the petition for custody, and if it is 10 pages, 6 pages would be only alleging that the spouse treated me like this, like that, and in the end maybe a few paras to state how am I eligible to be declared a
Okay.
guardian. Yeah. So that is what I said. In their own uh, fight, it's kind of claiming their own rights and putting as to what child is undergoing at the back burner. Although they claim that I have the best interest of the child at heart, but unknowingly they heap a lot of trauma on children. Very few parents, at least I came across in these 7 years, who maintain their balance. And some, it is very unfortunate to mention that children are rather, instead of counseling, children are rather used as pawns to bargain with the spouse. Suppose if the wife is in custody of the child and husband wants custody, so she would block all access and would try not to allow the required time, giving many reasons. And sometimes would say, I did not allow because he did not pay maintenance, whereas the maintenance can always be asked and court can take care of it. But blocking the child from the other parent is, used as a tool, which is very unfortunate.
Yes, I remember you have mentioned the same in your book that if a child is choosing one parent over other, it doesn't mean that the child is rejecting you. It's just that
Yeah.
the child wants to live with both, right? They just want to have a good, happy childhood. That's it. And now
Yes,
coming back
yes.
to some legal terms, I would like you to explain the 257th report of Law Commission of India and Hague Convention on the Civil Aspects of International Child Abduction in simpler terms. If you could please explain it
Okay.
for our audience.
Sure, sure. Hague Convention is with respect to civil aspects of abduction of children. This talks about international abduction. International abduction means, suppose both parents are Indian but settle abroad and have a
Okay.
child there, and father brings the child to India for visiting grandparent and never returns. So, as per Hague Convention, when he removes the child from the jurisdiction where he was, habitually residing, amounts to abduction as per this convention. And convention requires that we should have a setup to provide for that there is no harmful effect on the child when he is removed from his, because schooling would go away. Suppose child is born and brought up in US and all of a sudden at the age of 5 one of the spouses who is having some litigation or some disputes runs away and comes to India, child is kind of uprooted. So it will culturally be also very difficult for child to adjust in a new environment. And this is one which is required by the Hague Convention. Second, they said put in place a procedure. The child is quickly restored to the place of habitual residence.
Okay.
This is second part. And third is to take proper action against it. But we are India being not a signatory. for various reasons, because we have a lot of history of women marrying people's boys settled abroad, and then on reaching there and even having children, they find out that husband was already having wedding married to someone, or was having extramarital affair, or she's treated subjected to violence, physical or otherwise. So she somehow manages to bring the child to India. So keeping our social milieu, and many you must be aware there had been many such cases that wives who were subjected to domestic violence managed through sometimes our high commission or through friends and relatives somehow extricated themselves from such violent situations, and so asking her to return would be too much. So India is not a signatory. They may sign it later, but we
Okay.
have a lot
The
of judgments on this. So our
um,
judgments of higher court, Supreme Court, take care of ensuring wherever it is all fact based, wherever they feel that child is actually deprived and should be sent back, they are sent. Though a convention is, we are not signatory, but it is taken care of by the courts here.
okay.
And now
And
coming to law commission part, law commission has made many recommendations. One, we all aware, there is section 6 in Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act,
okay.
which says the father is the natural guardian, and after him it is the mother.
Okay.
So if you remember, it was a Geeta Hariharan's very famous case, that mother who was living separately approached Supreme Court, and Supreme Court said no, she cannot be denied. She is a natural mother, biological mother, so she should be issued the document which she was seeking as a guardian. But
Okay.
law was not changed, amendment was not brought. So one is this recommendation that now changes be brought in law to include mother also on the same footing.
Right.
Another recommendation accordingly is for adoptive father and adoptive mother. As was
Okay.
father, so was adoptive father, the natural guardian, and only after him the mother. And one chapter is recommended by the Law Commission to be added in toto, regarding placing on record, including in law various aspects which should be taken into account while determining child custody, as your question was earlier, and
Right.
also to provide for assistance to the child. But I would only say it will codify. But even now, maintenance, when we talk about maintenance, courts are not strictly, limiting itself to providing for food, shelter, or clothing. We have been granting, if a child is a special child and has special needs, we provide for that. Special medication for any ailment, that is also provided now. Suppose child needs braces, so that is also taken into account. Similarly, many such situations. So law commission has recommended that it should not confine to, so maybe they want it codified.
Okay.
codified and there is one provision in law that if child is not appearing when called by the court, so there is a
Okay.
provision for arrest of the minor. So they said, please do not use this word arrest. So maybe we can say, when just child is removed. Suppose the mother, I've talked about international abduction with respect to Hague Convention. Such abductions are not unknown even within India, The father
Right.
will run away to some other state, change house, put the child into hostel. There are many such situations. So they said, if the one of the spouses has, removed the child, then don't say arrest him and produce. Just say return the child.
Uh,
So yeah, and there are some more like shared parenting.
okay.
We should have that wholesome, sharing
जी.
by both the parents of the custody of the child. So these are major
Okay.
recommendations which are made by Law Commission.
Fine. You also mentioned that now there's this provision for adoptive parents who adopt in 257th report of Law Commission of India as well, right? So could you
Adopt?
explain it for
No, no,
those who adopt? Yeah.
no, it is not saying that. What I
Okay.
was explaining was, as in section 6, there is a provision
Fine.
that father is the natural guardian, and after him,
Okay.
the mother. So there is
Okay.
another
Fine.
provision which says, in case of adoption, it would be adoptive father who would be the natural guardian, and after him, the adoptive mother. So it's a
Okay.
similar change to be followed in the second part. Huh?
And do religion and caste, they also play any role in custodial litigations? If
Religion
there
is
is
one
an
of the factors, but generally, this is in the context of personal laws.
okay,
Religion, I had not come across such case to be, not to my knowledge that's any such case. Of course, this is one of the factors provided in law that religion would also be considered. Suppose there is an intercaste marriage, and if somebody is asking the child to follow this or that, but I
okay,
never came across any such case.
fine. And what about economic status? Are there custody battles only among middle and upper classes?
Not really. It is for everyone, every strata. Earlier, it used to be more, there is a difference how much they follow up and how aggressive are they in, following up was confined to
Okay.
higher strata and the middle class. But now the litigation has increased, and even people from lower strata also ask. Those who are able to access, legal assistance, they are provided legal assistance. If the father is, vagabond or alcoholic, mothers do come. But we
Yes.
all know, because they are engaged in work uh, whole day, so they may
Okay.
not approach. But with the legal assistance being provided, even they are approaching.
Fine. And we jumped right onto these legal questions. I should have asked you this question in the beginning, but please tell us a little bit about your journey. How did this idea of writing, coming up with these three books, and especially this one, Parents at War, came to your mind?
Parents at War was the outcome of, very, it is a very emotionally draining litigation, even for a judge. Of course, for a child, for
Right.
parents, but I'm sure for advocates who represent such parents, and even for us. So I used to see how both the parents claim that they can best provide. When they used to allege against each other, or pull the child in opposite directions, there used to be tug of war.
Okay.
So they, in that moment, forget what trauma they are heaping on the child. And another thing which I noticed, that after breakup, the parents move on, but the
But
children carry this trauma for the entire lifetime. And if you believe in, rebirth, I would say even to the next birth.
okay.
I have seen children who who grow up. I know of two, three such parents close to me in my friendship circle, uh, who underwent such litigation, and one child went into depression, and of course she was fortunate enough to come out of it. I know of another case where, the child became introvert, totally introvert, not interacting, because of such traumatic experience. Parents all the time, and you must have read, I think it was 2 years back, one child of 14 years of age had written a letter to the President of India to say that my parents keep fighting and allow me to commit suicide. I want to end my life. I'm fed up. So this is the kind of trauma children go undergo, and parents do not realize. I'm not saying that knowingly they do it, but unknowingly in their own zeal, to somehow win the custody of the child, they allege, they would even say the child is not growing, child is not doing well in studies, and even they tutor children, which is most unfortunate part. They even tutor children against the other spouse. So I wanted to, through this book, present it to the parents and every stakeholder to know what we do to the children when we do all this. So it's my effort to, put across the trauma children go through entire lifetime. You may move on, get remarried, settle, but
Right.
children, I also know of a girl who, because of seeing so much of bickering in their parents, never thought of marrying. She developed a commitment issue. So this is also kind of, blocks which get created in children. They feel this is not a relationship for me. I have seen enough of it. So that was the idea of, through this book, to present it to people to know what they do to the children when they do this.
And how do you, Miss Bamba, as a judge, deal with such problems, after listening to so many parents and counseling children? How do you heal yourself, I would say?
Yeah, that is the right word you have used. One has to really heal. By the evening, you feel so emotionally drained that there is enough of talking, and sometimes you don't even get any headway and you are totally frustrated in your efforts. All see, we all are human beings. By the
Right.
end of the day, if I'm counseling and just trying to show you something, although we keep little away, but then we tend to, somehow get involved, and we see words we speak or the emotions which are unloaded in the courts, they're all energy we somehow absorb. I would say that even files when we open, na, we I can, I could visualize, oh, these are very bickering parents, these are docile parents. Those files would also have some energy about themselves. So my way was to just be quiet for 10 minutes before I left for home. And
Okay.
sometimes these characters and these emotions would get entangled. And I follow certain practices. I do meditation, I go for morning walks. And I found connecting with nature the best therapeutic tool to, align again and get charged for the next day.
Right. So, since let's just see if we can. There's this another poem, no? So I was thinking we can end this session with the poem that has been mentioned on the chapter New Beginnings. Would you like to read it out for us?
Can you tell me the page? New
Yes,
beginnings, yes.
yes, New Beginnings.
I will just share. This is one of my colleagues' daughter. When I shared a story with her, she's very artistic. She paints and
Oh,
writes. So when I
17 years.
narrated this story, she wrote it for me. Yeah, she was 17 years, and I was myself amazed the way she has put emotions so aptly to depict this story.
Okay.
I will surely read. Uh, hey there, are you all right? Asked his soul, peeking from inside. Closing his eyes, he gave a dainty smile. That kid of 9 has seen it for a while. Sitting by the desk, he asked his soul, I have everything I need. I want no more. But there is something I'm missing. Can you help me find? Father's shoulders, the soul replied. Those days are gone when his hands were held high, one from the left and one from the right. Custody battle, his mom is the winner. In a life without father, he is only a beginner.
Yes, it's touching, right? And coming from a 17-year-old kid. Yes,
Yes,
makes a
actually,
lot of sense.
a case where father's application for custody to spend few days was strongly resisted, and order was even challenged to the higher court, but ultimately father was allowed 6 days, and he took the child to Goa, and the way they
And
bond
they
is
had a
amazing.
great time. Yes, they had a great time over there. They bonded on that vacation, right? So it was it was an insightful session, I would say, because this is the first time that I got a chance to talk with a lawyer and to actually understand what goes into this custodial litigation. Thank you so much, Ms. Bamba, and thank you for having us for this session.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was great talking to you.